What's up, guys?
What's going on? You guys are back with us on the Mopes and Hoodies show.
Just like that. Like we never left.
Even though we did for a week. Because, well, let's be honest, I was in Nashville for a week, doing a little speaking, doing a little debating, doing a lot of eating.
Oh, yeah. And I was back home drinking some green beer and getting a full-time job, baby. Yes, we're ready. So there's a lot of stuff we got to cover. We got NCAA basketball.
Of course, it was opening weekend, so we'll see whose brackets are busted, which is probably everybody, whose aren't, and still alive somehow. We also are going to get into the latest in NFL free agency as the Bears have made some moves.
They have.
Some decent ones.
They have.
So maybe Ryan Pace actually knows what he's doing. All that stuff and more on the Mopes and Hoodies show. Today's episode of Mopes and Hoodies show is brought to you in part by
So shock and awe.
Shock the Nation.
I mean, how many times have we seen this? Just huge number one seeds or...
Brian, I don't remember the last time that many close games happened in opening weekend. It had to have been a while.
Well, we're talking madness, and it's madness for sure.
It is.
You know?
It is the madness. Hey, as it was said in Julius Caesar, beware the Ides of March, my friend.
Beware. So I mean, what was your perspective on the last couple of games that we've seen, like the craziness?
Well, Ryan, I mean, the obvious one that sticks out in my mind. I mean, let's be honest. The obvious one is Virginia.
Right.
And with Virginia not only becoming the first one seed to ever lose to a 16 seed, but they got run off the court.
They did.
By UMBC. And props to them for playing the game that they wanted to. And I think it came down to the fact that it was the perfect game. They played the perfect game against Virginia. They didn't make mistakes. They were hitting shots. They were playing defense. And they forced Virginia to pull up and shoot jump shots. And that is a team in Virginia that is not built to do that. They do not have the star power to say, go off and get me 10 points.
Right.
That was the biggest strength and the biggest weakness of Virginia is that they played so well within their system that if they got out of it and they got behind, as they did with UMBC, as they were starting to rain threes down on them, they couldn't come back.
Yeah, I mean, you know what? When a team beats you by 20 points, that's something to say. It's not like they just got lucky and they beat you by 3.
No,
they dominated. They dominated. And sometimes we see it at these number ones or these number twos. In any sport, if you're the best person, you really look past the guy that really has no chance. And that's what they did, I think, in this situation.
I think that's a case where even people that had quote-unquote upset brackets didn't even have Virginia lose in that game. And then moving down into the South, that Buffalo smacking Arizona.
I know, the same bracket, man.
Who apparently a lot of people had Arizona win the national title. I
was one of them for them to go to the top 4.
I don't understand why, because I will never pick a team from the Pac-12 to win the national title because honestly, the Pac-12 competition I don't think is that good. So that's why I didn't have them going that far. But then Ryan, moving down further, you already know who we're going to talk about now. Don't bet against the church. Don't bet against Chicago. Loyola. I told you on this very show last week in this very room what was going to happen with Loyola in Miami.
Right.
And for those of you who missed it, Loyola Ramblers, for whatever reason, their mascot's a wolf for some reason. Not quite Not quite sure how that works.
Yeah, I mean, it's two buzzer beaters. Two. You know, I mean, how many times are we going to see this?
Against the U, and then going against Tennessee.
Just unbelievable stuff, you know.
But, Ryan, I said this from the beginning, that team is for real.
Right.
They can shoot. They can shoot the lights off they can shoot the laces off the ball. They can play some tough defense. They play in a really good mid-major conference that they dominated, not only in the regular season, but dominated in the tournament. And they're going up against Nevada, who... How about Nevada?
How about Nevada?
Because they beat Shaka Smart and Texas in the first round, 87-83. Hashtag 83 Nation. Bernstein and Goff, 670 the score. But then Cincinnati goes out, handles Georgia State with relative ease. I mean, they won 68-53, so not a blowout, but it was a relatively good game for them. Mm-hmm. Go in Cincinnati, who number 2 in the country, or number 2 seed, was my pick to win the national title. And
Nevada says no.
And Nevada came out and they beat them.
They said, you know what, let's shred some brackets today. They take out Cincinnati. That was your pick.
They were my pick. I'll admit that I was wrong.
Right, and now we have Loyola versus Nevada.
And that team is going to play the winner of Kentucky, Kansas State. And I'll say about Kentucky, right, they do not look like the invincible Kentucky that we've had in years past. They don't look invincible. Now, they look good, as most Calipari teams do once it comes tournament time, but they don't look invincible.
It's still going to be a tough challenge for Kansas State.
Yep.
It is still. I mean, I mentioned this, earlier. Out of that whole entire bracket from the South that came out, they're the most, they've seen a lot. Yep. You know what I'm saying? That organization, that program has been in here before.
And you also have the Kansas State on the coaching factor. I mean, yes, Kentucky has Calipari. Kansas State has Bruce Weber.
Right.
And for those of you who are going back to the glory days of U of I basketball, of Illinois basketball, actually longer ago than you and me might want to think, Ryan, is that there was a time when U of I, yes, people, was good at basketball with Darren Williams, D. Brown, Luther Head, Roger Powell, and James Augustine took that team to the national championship.
Right.
So Bruce Weber's been there before.
So now let's look over on the other side. Let's look at the East. So the East came out, and Villanova obviously just takes apart Radford.
Yep.
They take apart them.
No real surprise there.
Alabama gets past the first round against Virginia Tech.
I'm telling you, Colin Sexton. I was glad that Alabama won just so Colin Sexton could get his due on national television because, mark my words, I think he's going to be a better pro than Trae Young. Honestly, I think he's going to be a better pro than Trae Young.
And then we had West Virginia obviously getting into the next round.
Yeah, Bob Huggins, always a good coach, always has good teams at West Virginia.
And then another upset that a lot of people haven't really been talking about, but Marshall got
beating
through.
Wichita State.
Yeah. That was an upset that came out of nowhere too.
Yep, and no one really talked about that one because there was all these other ones.
Right, and that's a huge upset, a 13 beating a number 4.
Oh, it is. And then Florida beating St. Bonaventure, and then Florida losing to Texas. How about Texas Tech as a 3rd seed?
Mm-hmm.
As a 3 seed, Texas Tech's going to be playing Purdue. Purdue is the best team in the Big Ten left, seeing that there's only 2 of them left.
That's my dark horse right now.
You think so still?
Yeah.
And then, let's see, then we had Butler going through the first round. Then Butler only lost to Purdue by 3, so I'd say take that for what it's worth. I'd say Butler always has a solid squad.
Mm-hmm.
Going down to the bottom left, I mean, all right, Los Angeles for the West. All right, Xavier beating Texas Southern 102-83. Hashtag 83 Nation once again. Xavier getting taken out by Florida State.
Yeah.
Florida State going against Gonzaga. Ryan, I think you said it before in pre-show that Gonzaga, I agree with you. I think Gonzaga will move past Florida State, get to the Elite Eight. And then Michigan A&M. Because Michigan, I don't think they're as good as that seed indicates.
I don't think that either.
Because at one point, Ryan, they were down to Montana, a 13 seed, and then they, as we saw in that buzzer beater, they had to get a buzzer beater
to get past Houston. Well, they're doing the grunt work, and sometimes that's what you got to do.
They are doing the grunt work, but A&M, I mean, A&M is a scary team.
They took out my team.
They took out North Carolina.
Yep.
They took out and they didn't just take out. They dominated North Carolina, 86-65. That's not close.
There's
either.
no contest right there.
And then Midwest, Kansas is the number 1 seed of that region. They handled business against Penn, beat Seton Hall. Seton Hall kept the game close for most of the game, but now Kansas is going against your Tigers.
Yep. Let's go, boys.
Your Tigers. Then let's see what else. Do we have any other upsets over here? Not really.
Well, you have Syracuse beating Michigan State, man.
Well, and also Ryan. Well, yes, you had Syracuse beating Michigan State. You also had Syracuse not only winning their playing game, but then beating TCU, and then they've beaten Michigan State. So they're
the team to watch.
So they've had to play one more game than everybody else that's in this tournament right now. They've had to play an extra game. And I think that extra game helped them because with that zone, they play so well within it.
The defense, yes.
They play so well on the defensive end. And the big thing is, too, Ryan, is that if you watch that team, they rebound in a zone. And I know, you have 3 guys near the basket. You should be getting all the rebounds. So the whole thing is that with the zone defense, you don't box out your guy because you don't have an assigned guy. But they do all 5 of their guys rebound. They have good guard play, which, as we've seen in the past, you need good guard play in the NCAA tournament, and you need to play defense once you get out of opening weekend. If you want to get out of opening weekend, you have to play defense.
Right.
And then, of course, no real surprise, Duke is still in. Ugh.
Rhode Island taking out Oklahoma.
Yep.
Neutralizing Trae Young.
Honestly, I'm not surprised.
Mm-hmm.
I believe, maybe this is just my inner conspiracy theorist, Ryan. I think the NCAA pulled some strings to get Trae Young in the tournament because the NCAA wanted Trae Young in the tournament.
Right. If you're a promoter,
if you're a promoter, you want Trae Young in the tournament because yes, he was the best player in college basketball for most of the season. I mean, you can't argue with his stats. The guy is the only person in NCAA history to lead the nation in points and assists.
Yeah. Well, we see that all the time in every sport. So you want the cash cow, and Trae Young was that guy this year.
Yep, and unfortunately, he'll never be able to. He can't make a cent off of his own name.
So right now, with the teams that are still in
it's
there,
it's a good mix of seeds. It's not too top heavy. There's not a ton of lower seeds, but it's a good mix.
Well, in a perfect world, who do you got going now? Out of what's left,
all right.
Because
so who do I have in the Elite Eight now from all this? Okay,
and just to follow up, guys, me and Kevin's teams to go are already out. We're all out. We screwed up.
Michigan State,
North Carolina, and Michigan State.
They're all out.
So right now, who would you have going all the way?
Okay, so I'm gonna start. So let's start in the South. Let's start at the top left. I gotta roll with the Catholic Church, and I gotta roll with Chicago.
Yep.
Loyola is gonna go to the Elite Eight because they're hot.
Yeah,
they're hot. I think that they can get past Nevada. From there, then I'll say let's say Kentucky beats Kansas State.
Okay.
I just don't think Loyola would have the athletes to keep up with Kentucky. So I would say, unfortunately, because I don't like Kentucky, Kentucky out of the South, out of the East, I'm going to say Villanova still. So I'm going to have that number 1 seed. So I'm going to have the overall number 1 seed. And that's out of the East.
Okay.
The West, Ryan, I think I might say something. I'm going to go with A&M.
Out of the West.
Out of the West, because A&M is a scary team. And I think that they're athletic and they're physical. And I think that if and hopefully when they beat Michigan, and let's just say Gonzaga beats Florida State, I don't think Gonzaga will be able to handle the physicality and just sheer athleticism at A&M. So I'll have A&M out of the West. And then in the Midwest, oh, jeez, that's tough. Because I don't like Duke. I can't stand Kansas. I would say your Tigers, but I have not seen enough of them to make an accurate prediction.
Right.
So you know what? I'll say for discussion's sake, I'll say Clemson beats Kansas because Kansas is always iffy. Once it gets to the Sweet 16, they're always iffy. And then, you know what? I'm going to say that Boeheim has another run left in him and goes to the Elite Eight. And at that point, I'm going to say that Syracuse is going to go to the Final Four. So I have Syracuse versus Villanova on the right side of the bracket, and A&M versus Kentucky on the left side of the bracket for the Final Four.
Okay. If I had to look over, like I'm a guy that I like hot hands, right?
Yep.
I like the team that's hot.
Yep. You have two hot teams going against each other right now in Loyola and Nevada.
I like. It's so cliche, but I like the Cinderella stories in the hot hand. Okay, so Cinderella story, you have Loyola, Chicago.
Of course.
I think Loyola will go against Kentucky, and I think that you brought up a good point. The firepower that Kentucky still has with their athletes, it's hard to get past them. Yep. So Kentucky goes.
Yep.
And then I would have I got to go with Purdue. Okay. I've been rooting for Purdue this entire time. I wanted them to lose to Michigan State, but now they're the dark horse. So if Purdue...
So now that's not an option.
Right. So now Purdue will face Villanova, if I had to expect it.
Yep.
Okay, so... And when that tells me... I mean, Villanova is a tough team to beat. They're going to be really tough for Purdue.
Oh, yeah.
Even though Purdue's the number 2 seed.
Villanova's better.
Purdue's going to be a huge upset. To me, personally... That's a tough game, but my wish is for Purdue to get past. So Purdue and Kentucky will face off in that Final Four.
Okay.
Then I have, obviously, I need to have my Tigers in there.
All right, so
it's just a biased opinion.
Out of the Midwest.
Yeah.
So who's the West for you?
So out of the Midwest, out of the Midwest, I have Clemson going, and then
in the West.
Oh, in the West, yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so Clemson's going to face Duke first, okay? Now, that's a tough call because Duke is just Duke.
Yeah, and as much as I can't stand him, they have Grayson Allen as a 4-year senior.
Right.
He's been there before.
Right, and like I said before, if you're like embellished to be in that position and they've been there before, it says a lot.
It's tough to not go with the experience.
Right, and experience takes you a long way.
And you got Coach K, because, you can never count that out either.
So, I'd have to say Gonzaga will get past Florida State in the West.
All right. What about A&M and Michigan?
I think you brought up a good point that A&M is a team to watch, especially after they took out North Carolina.
Especially the way they did.
Yeah.
They just bullied North Carolina.
Yeah, but you know what? I don't see either team getting past Gonzaga. I just don't see it. I think, and you brought up a good point, too, with Michigan. Their seed is way better than what that team is.
That Michigan does not deserve to be a 3 seed.
No.
Just like, in my opinion, Oklahoma didn't deserve to have a bid in. If it was my opinion, if you wanted Oklahoma to be in the tournament, they should have been in a play-in game.
Right. So, unfortunately, I'm just going to be biased. I'm going to say Clemson versus Gonzaga.
Okay.
I don't see Clemson actually getting past Gonzaga.
All right.
But Clemson will face off against Purdue, and Purdue wins the whole thing.
Wait a second. No, you would have Clemson versus Purdue in the Final Four. Because remember, the sides in the bracket.
What I'm saying is Gonzaga will get past all the teams on the West. Okay.
So
and then they would and then Clemson will beat everybody in the Midwest. As much as I really doubt that's going to happen, especially against Duke.
Yeah.
I'll have the 2 Carolina teams going off each other, and then Clemson will win. So Clemson will go off against Purdue, who will get past Villanova, and then will defeat Kentucky.
Okay.
So I have Purdue versus Clemson. No,
there's
Gonzaga.
A way I could see that happening because Purdue. I mean, let's not sugarcoat it. They were the best best 3-point shooting team in the country.
Mm-hmm.
And they have that. I think it's Haas. Is their big guy? He is a man child. Purdue's big man. He is huge. And he's good. So you know what? We'll see. Honestly, I respectfully disagree with your prediction about Purdue because I can never count on them to do good in anything in athletics because every time I do, they let me down. So I'm not going to say that, but I will say that everything else, I could see that happening. So it's going to be interesting come Thursday what we're going to see for this next week.
Yeah. I mean, I'm excited for it.
And then, so do we want to talk a little football? Dang.
Let's get into it, though. Let's get into it. Hand off to Marshawn Lynch.
Oh my God. So, yes, ladies and gentlemen, it is getting closer and closer. And before you know it, we are going to be gearing up for the draft. And speaking of gearing up, the Bears have been gearing up. As Ryan, going into free agency, they have 40 guys they need to fill out the roster. And they got 3 this past week. And one of them, we hope, is going to be as good as he was before. Because Allen Robinson, let me tell you something. Allen Robinson coming off of ACL surgery. You got Cameron Meredith coming back off the same injury. Now that it looks like Trubisky actually has some semblance of an offense to have and some guys to throw to.
Right.
There's a lot. The future is bright.
Right.
It's looking bright.
So, okay, so you like the pick that they made with Robinson?
Yes, absolutely.
I'll agree with that. I like Allen Robinson. I think his size really is a great size for a wide receiver in the NFL. Now, before we came into this show, I was all about Sammy Watkins.
Yep.
Again, Clemson guy.
Yep.
If you compare the two guys, I mean, right now I would actually go with Allen Robinson, but I'm a speed dude. And Allen Robinson's one thing that you would consider is he's not the fastest dude.
I don't need a fast guy. I need a guy that's going to catch the ball when he gets up. Ryan, in my knowledge and my experience of playing football, if you can run good routes, you'll get open regardless of how fast you run. Mm-hmm. And they can find a speed guy. They can find a speed threat in the draft or some other guys in free agency. But in my opinion, Allen Robinson, he's quick off the line. He's physical. He's a bigger receiver, like you point out. He's a bigger guy, and he can go up and get the jump ball. He can go up and get it. I love that pick. I love that pickup.
Yeah, I mean, I like I said, I like it too. I mean, they signed Cameron Meredith to another 1-year contract. Josh Bellamy back for another 1-year contract. You know, and then you look on the other side, you have Bryce Callahan.
You got Kyle Fuller back, too.
Kyler Fuller, which we matched Green Bay. Can you imagine if he went over to the other side?
Well, the other thing, too, is that now with the franchise tag, we're going to find out if Kyle Fuller can play. Because if he can do it 2 years in a row, if he can play how he did last year 2 years in a row, then guess what? We're going to discover that Kyle Fuller, we got ourselves a player.
Yep.
Because this guy coming into camp, he was done. Coaches, teammates, front office, Ryan, every single person in the Chicago Bears organization wrote off Kyle Fuller because they questioned whether he even wanted to. They questioned his work ethic, his toughness, his willingness and want to play. And he came out and he balled out this past season. Yeah. I mean, he's breaking up passes, getting picked on, making plays. He's tackling Cam Newton in the open field by himself.
Well, we're in the right direction, and that's the best thing we can get out of it.
Yes, it is.
I mean, and it starts from free agency. Now we have the draft coming up.
Yep.
Let's grow. Let's get something on this team. I mean, we got rid of Willie Young. You know, there's some guys that we got rid of.
Had to.
But we have to. You know, like we're in a rebuild right now.
Yep.
So let's grow. So right now, I think that's a really good direction that we took.
I think that was a good one. The tight end that they got another tight end, Daniel Brown.
Yep.
Guess what? They signed another guy in free agency. Guess what? Good. Give him competition because Deion Sims spent the end of last season with an illness that I don't think they still ever came out and told us what that was. And Adam Shaheen, let's just be honest, was underwhelming at the very least. To me, it was disappointing, to be honest. with your second round pick, the 35th pick overall, or like 32nd pick in the draft, and he couldn't even get on the field for the first 4 or 5 weeks.
Right.
So I'm always a fan of more competition. Let's see. On March 15th, they decided to re-sign Pat O'Donnell. This is all coming from Chicago Sun-Times. They signed former 49ers outside linebacker Aaron Lynch to a 1-year deal. He recorded 6 sacks as a rookie while playing under Vic Fangio. He only appeared in 7 games in each of the last 2 seasons. So you know what? That's another guy to develop and grow, but they need depth and they need players. So if it was me, if I'm going into the draft now and looking at the rest of free agency, give me more wide receivers, give me more depth at offensive line, and get me another pass rusher.
Yeah, we'll get into the draft. I really think that they're going to go defense now. I think that's like from them picking up Allen Robinson, that really tells me that they're going the other side.
Yep.
But they did sign Kyle Fuller back.
Yeah, they did.
And I thought they were going to go defensive back. But let's go. How about the other signings? Like Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins over in Minnesota.
Kirk Cousins to Minnesota.
You like that? You like that?
I think that's good. But now, Ryan, that makes me question how serious. I think Teddy Bridgewater's knee injury was worse than everybody was led to believe. Because they just gave Kirk Cousins a max contract. And you still have Teddy Bridgewater there. I mean, Bradford came back or had a pretty decent season last year. But Teddy Bridgewater came back week 11, week 12. He was cleared. Yeah. Didn't play.
Yeah, well, they just released Teddy Bridgewater.
I honestly...
He's over in New York now. New York is giving him a chance.
Jets
the
or Giants?
He's at the Jets. Jets.
Oh,
Jets.
For anyone since we're not recording this one, I'm praying Father, Son, Holy Spirit to Teddy Bridgewater because his career is over now.
Bless.
Because the Jets, did you see the amount of picks they gave up to move up in the draft?
Yeah, but then you know what? I think just how like the Chicago Bears did with Mitch Trubisky, if they have a plan, and if it works, it works.
They gave up 2 first-round picks and 3 second-round picks.
I don't agree with it.
3.
I don't agree with it. So don't get me wrong. I do not agree with what they did.
And do you know what? I think we talked about this on the show last week. Is the Browns? If it was me, I would flaunt that pick out there. That first overall, because I believe they have the 4th overall pick as well. I believe.
I thought it was the number 7.
Let's find out. Hold on. NFL draft.
Well, regardless, I mean, if Cleveland, I think Cleveland, no matter what's going to go, Saquon Barkley.
Saquon Barkley.
Yeah, Barkley. Gosh, I can't even speak. It was a long weekend, guys. We'll get into that.
Okay, so here it is. So first overall again, the Browns. Then the Jets via the Colts from a trade. Then the Browns had the 4th overall pick because of that trade where they sent Brock Osweiler back to Houston.
Right.
Then the Broncos, the Colts, again via the Jets, the Bucks, and the Bears. And then the Niners and Oakland Raiders round out the top 10. If it was me, because with the Jets willing to give up that much to move up to 3, they're going after a quarterback. The Giants are going to be going after a quarterback. So you know for a fact pretty much that 2 of the first 3 picks are basically guaranteed to be a quarterback. So if it was me, if you're Cleveland, take the best position player available at number 1 or trade back. Get more picks, and then you're going to take that chance because there's no way anyone else is going to take Barkley in the top 3. There's no way. People aren't going to take running backs that high. You take Saquon Barkley at 4, you get more picks out of it. You have Tyrod Taylor, Josh Gordon. What other wide receivers did they just sign? We talked about this. We talked about this last week too.
Yeah,
but. The point is...
Oh, they signed Jarvis Landry.
Yeah. With Josh Gordon, you put Saquon Barkley back there in the running back with Tyrod Taylor. Suddenly...
We already talked about it. I'm a big guy. I love what they did.
Suddenly you have an offense that could compete quick, fast, and in a hurry.
just like that. Now, what about other guys? Like, free agency has just been crazy lately.
Yep.
So, I mean, we talked a little bit on Richard Sherman going to San Fran last show.
Yes, we did.
What other free agent signings have you been shocked by? I mean, I think from New England? Amendola's over in Miami, I believe.
Amendola's in Miami. Malcolm Butler's gone.
There's a lot of people that are gone. There's a lot of people that have switched out of teams. I don't think Tennessee's signing DeMarco Murray back.
Which is a very big mistake, if you ask me.
Yeah, I mean, running backs, they get, once they get old, it's a toss-up.
He's not that old, though. He's only like 27.
Yeah. That's just the way that the game's gotten, though.
And then, of course, there's the Cowboys are just going to be a disappointment because they always are.
They're talking to, like, 2 new Patriots coming over there or something like that. They're the next Patriots, yeah. Yeah.
The Cowboys are always a disappointment. You can always count on them to let you down.
Mm-hmm. The Honey Badger. Honey Badger signing with the Texans. Yeah, for 1 year.
Really?
Yeah.
If you get a healthy J.J. Watt, you get a healthy Whitney Merciless.
It's stacked.
You already saw what Jadeveon Clowney was capable of last year.
Right.
Last year, he looked like the man amongst boys that he was when he was at South Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
And, Ryan, I wanted to go back to the draft, actually, because I wanted to get your perspective on this now.
Okay.
Who do you think is the best quarterback in this draft?
You know what? I got to go with the kid from Oklahoma just because I love him.
Baker Mayfield?
Yeah.
Absolutely. And you know why?
Because I love competitors. I love guys that just like grind it, and they just don't care.
Just about to say that. Give me a guy with the heart of Baker Mayfield over anybody else in this draft. Because you know why? Because the biggest example that sticks out to me was Oklahoma's game against Kansas, where before the coin toss or after the coin toss, the captains traditionally shake hands.
Right.
Kansas did not shake hands,
and he went off
with Oklahoma.
Right.
And they dropped, and Oklahoma beat them. I think it was like 49-7.
Mm-hmm.
And Baker Mayfield said, now he was grabbing, he's grabbing his junk, grabbing his man zone. But he said, stick to basketball. You're at a basketball school.
Yep.
Give me someone with that type of attitude over anybody else. Why do you think the Tom Bradys of the world are the ones that win?
Mm-hmm.
The Tom Bradys, the Kobe Bryants, the Michael Jordans, the LeBron Jameses. Because they don't care what people think about them.
Right.
They want to win, and they know who they are. It's not, and that's why I'm not a fan of Sam Darnold. Because number one, the stats this year showed it. Sam Darnold led the nation in turnovers. 42 combined turnovers.
Mm-hmm.
Second, did you see at the combine that he said he wouldn't throw?
No, I did not see that.
He didn't throw. I'm sorry, last time I checked, I thought the whole purpose of being a quarterback is that your essential job is to throw the football.
Mm-hmm.
But he said he wasn't going to throw at the combine, that he'd only throw at USC's Pro Day.
Yeah.
Do you know what that tells me? That tells me that he wants everything to be in his favor. He wants it to be the same field, the same conditions, the same balls, the same receivers, the same coaches.
Mm-hmm.
He wants everything to be as familiar to him as possible so it can be as easy on him as possible. That's not the point. That's why the combine is there. So they can see how comfortable are you being uncomfortable. And I don't know, maybe I'll be wrong. Only time will tell. But to me, Sam Darnold doesn't want to win.
So, Sam Darnold is prospected to be the number one guy.
Supposedly.
Compared to the quarterbacks. Now, what do you think about Josh Allen?
Josh Rosen? Are you talking about Josh Rosen from UCLA?
Josh Allen from Wyoming.
Or Josh Allen from... So, I have not seen enough of him. But from the stuff I have been reading, that he's talented from what I've heard and what I've read.
Okay. What about
Josh Rosen?
Josh Rosen, yeah.
Josh Rosen, I love his attitude also because he's not just a dumb guy. Well, all right, you can't be dumb to play quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
But he's not just a football player where if he doesn't succeed in football, he has, because he even came out and said, he's like, I don't need football to be successful. He has his degree already from UCLA. I don't need football to be successful. I want to play football. I want to be a pro. I want to succeed in the NFL, but he doesn't need it. He's been speaking out against issues in this world. Isn't that what we want professional athletes to do? But then there's those people that will troll on Twitter. They're like, "Oh, shut your mouth and stick to shooting the ball or stick to passing the ball or whatever it is or whatever sport it is. Stick to whatever." No, I'm sorry. So you want your athletes to be role models, but whenever they actually take that job seriously and want to say something about something that's going on in this country or in the world, you want them to shut up.
Right.
No, I want more football players to be like Josh Rosen. Okay,
so another guy, which this guy, I think no matter what, even if you want to put him in a different position,
I already know what you're talking
is electrifying.
about.
Okay, we're talking Michael Vick style
Lamar Jackson
of playing.
Yep.
Lamar Jackson. And what do you think about them? Because he's already said, I'm not playing anything other than quarterback.
Well, yeah, it's his right to.
Right.
He doesn't have any reason as to why he should accept people forcing him to play receiver.
Mm-hmm.
He wants to play quarterback. He showed in college that he's good enough to play quarterback.
I think he's thicker of a quarterback than Robert Griffin was.
Oh, yeah.
So, and speed-wise, very similar.
He has a better arm than Mike Vick did coming out of Virginia Tech.
So, I mean, there's a lot of good things out of him being a quarterback, and I'm a guy that loves electrifying players.
Yep.
And if we're talking Madden, we bring up Madden every single time we're on the show.
Give me Lamar Jackson.
Give me Lamar Jackson. I'm gonna run all over you.
Give me Lamar Jackson.
You know, so there's a lot of quarterbacks coming out. We'll see where these guys go. It's going to be interesting.
It is going to be interesting, and I'm excited for the first time in a while to be a Bears fan. I mean, not even just a football fan, but to be a Bears fan. It's the first time in a while that you actually have a reason to hope.
Right.
And speaking of the Bears and the draft, it's going to be interesting to see what they do with that 8th pick. Because if it was me, I would take the offensive lineman from Notre Dame if he's there. And now, this may be where my bias comes out a little bit. I love Notre Dame. I've loved Notre Dame since I was 3 years old.
Mm-hmm.
But, Ryan, I'm telling you, this guy is an animal. And the offensive line coach for Notre Dame, which is now the offensive line coach for the Bears, said, because Spiegel and Parkins on 670 and The Score were interviewing him and asked him about how would you compare him to Zach Martin. As you know, Zach Martin, also from Notre Dame, also a guard, multi-time Pro Bowler already. Said that Zach Martin is the perfect tactician. Every single part of his technique is the exact same every single time. His footwork, his hands, his contact points, everything. It's perfect. And this is his quote. Same thing with Zach Martin, only put a stick up his ass and give him a mean streak. That's who this guy is.
Well, that would tell me, like, hey, this is the right guy to go.
This dude's he's a bad dude. He's a bad dude.
I mean, you even said in previous shows, you know, if you're going to be a good offensive lineman, you go to 3 schools.
Notre Dame, Alabama, or Wisconsin.
Mm-hmm.
And then sometimes you can throw Stanford in there, too.
Yeah. So, I mean, he comes from one of those schools.
Yes, he does.
And you just stated that there's upside to having this guy on your team.
Yeah.
Now, do they go an offensive line way? Do they pick one of those guys up? I don't know. I like I said, I really believe that they're going to go defensive wise.
Understandable if they do.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, the Bears at this point. There's really no wrong decision that they can do here, because if they don't like what is at number 8, then they can trade out. They can trade back because there's going to be teams that are going to want to move up. You can trade back, see if you can get something at like 12 or 12 to 15, pick up an extra pick. Maybe if you pick up a pick at the late or in the late part of the first round or a second or a third round pick, give me more picks so you can get more bodies because that's what they need at this point is that they need to sign half a roster.
Well, football's a team sport, and if you can get 2 really good guys instead of one that's excellent.
Yep. I'll take 2 really good.
Yeah. I mean, every single time I would take that, twice on Sunday.
Yep.
So, I don't know. There's a lot of stuff that we could look up for Dub Bears over here in Chicago.
It's going to be fun. Right now, I mean, I have a mock draft according to the Chicago Sun-Times with Bears Wire. First round, it has the Bears at number 8 taking Tremaine Edwards from Virginia Tech. Then second round at pick 39, they have Arden Key from LSU, a defensive end. Then Duke Dawson, a cornerback from Florida, using one of their 2 fourth-round picks. So their first 3 picks they have in this draft, according to the Chicago Sun-Times, should be defensive players. Then they take Anthony Miller, who is a receiver from Memphis, where, this is surprising. So this guy's projected in the 4th round, right, Ryan?
Mm-hmm.
At Memphis, he had 96 catches for 1,400 yards and 18 touchdowns in just 13 games.
That's legit.
That guy's 4th round. 5th round, they have another Hokie, a cornerback, Braden Faison from Virginia Tech. Cole Madison from Washington State as their 6th round pick. Then their 7th round pick, number 224 overall. They have my guy from Notre Dame, Equanimeous St. Brown from Notre Dame. If they can get St. Brown in the 7th round, Ryan, I will be so happy. Because St. Brown is for real. I'm telling you. He's good. But, again, this is still all speculation at this point, people. Draft is still, I believe it's in April?
Yeah, we got a long time to go.
So we still have a couple months, or still a couple of weeks left. But it's, it's fun to talk about because that's what we do.
Yeah. So what did you do over break other than go to Nashville?
Well, other than going to Nashville. So, yes, everyone, that is the primary reason why Ryan and myself both weren't here is because I was not in the same state. For our school, or our university, our speech and debate team was actually going to the national tournament for Phi Kappa Delta's national speech tournament.
Is that a frat?
It actually is. It actually, I don't know if you call it fraternity or a sorority because it's guys and girls, so I don't know how that works exactly, but it's some sort of
co-ed.
It's some organization thing.
Co-ed with frats and sororities. That's all I got. That's all I got out of that.
Yeah. So we went down to Nashville.
You dog.
Hey man, what are you gonna do? So we went down to Nashville early Tuesday morning. We got there in the early, mid-evening. Competed all day Wednesday and all day Thursday, where I was basically going from 6 a.m. till 10 o'clock at night, 2 days in a row. So that was exhausting. We had some really good food. We went to anyone who's ever going to go to Nashville. Ryan, this is for you too. If you ever go to Nashville,
I'm moving down there.
Are you?
So tell me all about it.
Go to this really good chicken. It's called Hattie B's Hot Chicken. It's, fried chicken, tenders, all that stuff. But they don't mess around. When they call it hot chicken, they don't mess around.
We're talking about chicken, right?
Yeah. They're
I thought he was talking about chicks. I was like,
no, I got medium.
Even better.
I got the medium sauce on my fried chicken. I was dying.
Really?
So
you like it hot?
Well, I wanted to get medium because I like a little bit of heat. I don't like a ton, but it turns out I actually should have gone with the mild. Because
I hate that mistake.
Oh, my God. It was awful. I mean, the chicken was still great. Don't get me wrong. I still ate it. Mm-hmm. But that was good. Their mac and cheese was very, very good.
I'm a mac and cheese guy.
A1 for mac and cheese. Then also we ended up going one night to this place called San Antonio's Tacos. which, you know, was a cheap, or not, well, I wouldn't call it cheap, but it looked like a dumpy little taco place, but it was really, really good. It's right down the street from University of Belmont in downtown Nashville. Let's see, where else did we go? We went to we had this pizza place one night, actually Friday night when Virginia lost to
UMBC.
Yeah, that school.
Yeah.
We had this place called Emilio's, which it was all right. I mean, it's no Chicago pizza because you know Chicago has the best damn pizza.
Right.
I don't care what anybody from New York says. No, Chicago has the best pizza. But it was serviceable. It was passable. We also, for breakfast, went to this place called the Funky Griddle. Very, very good, just outside of the downtown.
You said funky, right?
Yes, it's funky. It's funky with a P. So Phunky.
Funky,
Griddle.
guys. Get your head out of the gutter.
Griddle. And it was an interesting concept, but it's more of one of those places where you would go there on like a weekend after church or with a group of friends, like you don't have anything to do for like the next couple hours. Because I will say this, the service, not that great, but the concept was great because there was 5 of us that went. We had a table about the size of the one that we're at right now in the studio. And in the middle is a big griddle. So you order what you want. In my case, I got unlimited pancakes with the regular batter and hash browns. And they bring you out the pancake batter and hash browns uncooked, and you cook it yourself on your griddle.
It's not bad.
So, yeah, it's really, really cool. So you can do that with eggs. So you can have your eggs your own way and stuff like this. So you want to do, sunny side up, over medium, scrambled, however you want. You can have it like that. The only thing that sucked is that since there was 5 of us, we were all trying to cook our stuff at the same time. So it wasn't cooking nearly as fast as it would have. We were just doing shit one at a time.
Don't worry, I'll leave it out. Go on with it.
But no, we had some really good places. It was a lot of fun. Our team did pretty well. I mean, all things considered, I placed in the top 20 in debate. I also got special recognition for excellence for speaking for debate. So I was voted one of the best speakers in the actual event of debate in the country.
No need to brag.
And no need to brag for that. And also, I also got to say I went toe to toe with the guy who went on to be the national champion in the first round. It's really cool guys from College of Western Idaho.
You guys have a couple Kool-Aids?
No, actually, we bonded over waiting for our judge for our round to show up for 45 minutes because he didn't show up he showed up 45 minutes late. So we bonded and we talked over us complaining about our judge not being there. Then a couple other members on the team, one, she in her it was her first competitive tournament, was nationals. And she took 3rd in the event public narrative. So for your first tournament finishing 3rd, I would say that's pretty good. And then another teammate, she finished, she got to the semis. And another one, they also got special recognition for their outstanding performance in the event of interviewing. So it was kind of like a mock job interview sort of thing. So that was
nice.
That was nice. So our team, it was worth it. It was long. The drive, I would not recommend driving there.
I've driven there before.
I would not recommend being on a coach bus going there because as the coach bus, we left Saturday, Ryan, at around 8 o'clock from Nashville. We drove about 45 minutes, stopped at like a small town somewhere, with a bunch of different places to eat. We all got off the bus and ate, got back on the bus, and I didn't walk into my house, which, as you know, is right across the street from school until 6 in the morning on Sunday. Yeah,
it's always that ride back. It's always that ride back from a vacation.
God.
That absolutely sucks because you're coming back to reality. It's after, you it wasn't a vacation for you, but it, like you're having time off, you're going to do a speech thing.
Yeah.
But it's still travel. You're still traveling somewhere. But on the way there, you're not as drained as the way back.
No, because you're looking forward to wherever it is you're going to be there.
Right. Nothing's worse than driving. I'm the one time now. I've never been in downtown Nashville. That's where I want to move. Love Music City, but I've driven down past them on the way to PCB, Panama City Beach.
Yeah.
Armpit of America. But it was spring break, 21 years old.
It's rough.
Terrific. But it was a rain, you know, like we drove past there. It was like 8 hours after our drive or whatever. But I mean, it's Nashville, so that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it was a good experience. Honestly, I'm hoping to coach next year and help out the team as assistant director of forensics. Next year's nationals is not Staten Island, Long Island, New York. So it's in New York. So that'll be pretty cool. One thing I don't recommend is ever going to Tennessee State if you don't like a college that's full of hills. Yeah. All it was walking up hills on their campus, and I hate hills. I was like, I'd rather take Illinois and all its boring flatness instead.
Yeah. Well, I mean, my weekend was pretty good. I'll give you the rundown. So, like, the whole entire week when you were gone, your boy landed another full-time job.
Hey!
You know, program director, pretty darn cool. And I did have a job before that. So I've had 2 full-time jobs before even graduating. The one was a total BS job, marketing promotions. I can go on and on, guys, but once you find out that they totally lied to you before you go into the job
as to what you're actually
as to what I was doing, and you just to be a number, don't do it because they're morally not there with you. Okay, yeah. So I ended up just having this thing fall in my lap with program director. I'm thankful for it. And then this weekend, I went out. I went out to Wrigleyville.
Oh jeez. Oh, did you go for a bar crawl?
Yeah.
For St. Patty's Day?
So I went to a bar crawl.
Oh, yeah, that was the other thing. I was sober on St. Patrick's Day. How terrible is that?
Biggest mistake that Kevin has done is being sober on St. Patty's Day.
I had no choice. I'm sorry.
Well, I wore the green. I got up 8 a.m. We were ready to go.
That's too early.
So I get up 8 a.m. We're going down the green, the river's green.
Yeah.
And then we
did you
finally
go to the
get
parade
up.
And everything?
I didn't go to the parade. I'm there for the festivities, and that's in Wrigleyville, and that's having some green beers. Because, it's once a year you get green beers. The next day was terrible.
No thanks. I'll stick with my beer being the regular beer color. Thanks.
Right. So, I mean, obviously had a couple beers. Pretty darn good. Made my way home. On and off, like cherry on top of the end of the weekend. I had to work at that job that, I'm working at now. By the way, my boss just called me. Not picking up. I'm not picking up because I'm not working with you. So it's over.
Ryan's savage.
It's like when your ex-girlfriend starts calling you like, oh, I want you back. Guess what?
Talk to the hand.
It is not happening.
Give her the hand.
So that's going to be it.
Yep, for an extended edition of Mopes and Hoodies, it is now 4:18, so we went for just about an hour with everybody today.
Pretty long,
So we shall see you back on Wednesday, where we will touch more of whatever's going on in the sports universe. We can preview more for the March Madness this coming weekend. So,
I mean, sports is an evolving door.
Sports win!
You always get... Hey, sports. So you always get stuff. Shout out to Kevin for bringing in some chips and queso today. Let's get a round of applause.
Can't say I don't do nice things.
Let's get a round of applause,
Don't say I don't do nice things around here.
So we're gonna conclude. You guys stay safe. Stay beautiful.
Good night.
Good night.